Really, very nice today. The sort of day really you can only do justice to the day if you talk about philosophy or a thought experiment or maybe Only Fools and Horses. So let's talk about Only Fools and Horses. I want to talk about a scene from that British comedy in which a character called Trigger is talking with his friends, Del Boy, Rodney, Boycie and Sid, and they're all sat in Sid's cafe around a table, and Trigger mentions to everyone that he's been awarded a medal by the council for the job that he does, road sweeping. And he's been awarded this medal because he's told his new boss that he's had the same broom for the last 20 years. So they're giving him a medal to sort of reward him for saving the council money. Del Boy looks at him and says, well, Trigger, if you've had the same broom for the last 20 years, have you actually ever swept any roads with it? He says, yeah, I maintain my broom. This old broom has had 17 new heads and 14 new handles in its time. And Sid looks at him and says, well, how can that be the same broom then? And Trigger gets a bit angry now. He takes out a photograph and says, well, look, there's a picture of it. What more proof do you need? It's quite a funny joke. Maybe you needed to be there, I don't know. And it's quite old, this joke. It's like 1996 or something. But actually, it's far older than that. It actually, this joke connects to a thought experiment that the ancient Greeks used to use. And it was a thought experiment called Theseus's ship. And in the thought experiment, they talk about the king of Athens, Theseus, who becomes king after he defeats the Minotaur. Basically, his story is the Hunger Games, if you want it in a kind of nutshell. And after he defeats the Minotaur, sets Athens free, they celebrate this event every year for the next 1,000 years by taking Theseus's ship and sailing it around the harbour of Athens. Now, obviously, the ship is made of wood, it's made of sails, and it's made of rope. So all of these things rot and they have to be replaced over that 1,000 years. So they replace a plank when it gets rotten, they replace a sail when it gets rotten, when the rope gets rotten, they replace it. But they keep all of the old pieces, all of the rotten pieces taken, the Athenians keep them in a yard somewhere. And someone says, well, let's rebuild it. Now once the new ship has no old components and they've only got this old ship complete, they rebuild the old ship, the rotten one. I mean, they obviously couldn't sail it because it would sink, but they have two ships now. They have the brand new one with all the new pieces, and they have the old one, the original, the one that Theseus would have stepped on. And the thought experiment basically asks, well, which one is Theseus's ship? Is it the one he stood on that has the memory of him stood on it? Or is it the one that they sail out every year for the last 1,000 years? And it's a question that is kind of rhetorical. It's a deep question. It's been asked for so long. We're going to keep asking it for so long. To put it into context of how we could ask it, let's imagine that in a few years' time we have the technology to take our memories and insert them in a computer. Now, if I asked you, is that you? You might say, no, that's my memories in a computer. And I think most of us would agree that doesn't make that you. But let's just say we get a bit more tech savvy and we build a robot and we put your memories in a robot. And this robot looks a little bit like C-3PO, so almost humanoid. And then I'd say, is that you? And you might say, well, no, actually, it looks a bit like me. It's got my memories, but it's not me. Or you might say, yes, it's me, it's got my memories. But let's just say we get really tech savvy in the future and we're able to create cyborgs that are exactly like us. Has as much fuzz on my face as I do. That has the same beautiful blonde hair that I do. It's highlights. Let's just say that's possible. And these memories are inserted in that cyborg. Every memory I've ever had is in that cyborg. Looks exactly like me. Is that me? When I'm no longer around, is that still me? And I guess that's the philosophical question, isn't it? Because we have this thing that, for all intents and purposes, no one will be able to tell the difference. It remembers, sorry, that was a wasp. It remembers the time my brothers took me to the beach, buried me in the sand up to my neck, and left me there for 3 hours. It remembers that. But it didn't experience it like I did in this body. And maybe that's the thing that makes it not me. Maybe the me that is me is the me that's had all these experiences as well as all of these memories. Anyway, nice day. Theseus Broom.